We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
This is a sham.
No. Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. Look at this.
Hey.
All
My
three
goodness.
of us.
All right. Still distance,
Still
but my friends are here.
That's how Jeff likes it, distant from Tori, but we are three of us
Friend
back in the
distance.
studio today, and we also have Lindsay joining us from home. Lindsay, how are you?
Guys, I feel super, super distant from y'all. I can't even reach across and touch you.
You're in our hearts, Lindsay. You're in our hearts.
That's a good thing that came from COVID. The distance I like.
You do.
And I do like going to the bathroom and having a mask on because you don't get all the smells.
You're a
There's a
little
thing.
Larry David
It's a
about that.
positive.
That
It's
is
a
a positive.
All right.
All right, well, let's get to a negative because we all know the pandemic has left people feeling on edge. But today we're featuring some stories about people who've taken their bad behavior just a little too far. So up first, a Connecticut man who was arrested, y'all might have seen this, and he's lost his job after going on a racist tirade at a smoothie shop. Now the video went viral over the weekend, like I said. Take a look and we'll talk on the flip side.
I want to speak to the person who made this drink. Is that you? That stupid in high school kid. Give it to me right now.
What? Oh, you're calling the police. I'm calling the police. Who are you? Who are you?
Immigrant loser.
What?
Okay, let's tell the whole story here. There's some backstory and context. Now, according to the police, the man was really upset because his son had had a severe allergic reaction to the smoothie and was hospitalized. He ordered the smoothie without peanut butter, but didn't tell them about his son's allergy. He's now apologizing for his behavior, saying he was out of his mind with fear after his son collapsed and couldn't breathe. Al, we were kind of discussing this a little bit earlier. Is there an excuse for this due to how terrifying this moment was?
I don't think that my humanity depends on if your son has an illness or not. There is a way that you communicate with people. There's a way that you communicate with people that you are very upset about what happened. But when you start talking about people's immigration status, calling people losers, like I know that those were women that he yelled at, but I see little girls. I see girls that look like my daughter and her friends. And so that's even more because there's a physical intimidation, and the fact that he almost kind of walked around like he was gonna go back there, that was really disconcerting. I think he absolutely should have lost his job. And if you're so worried about your son, where is he at?
Right.
The car?
Well,
shouldn't you be by his bedside?
Well, the other thing is, too, is if he's that sick with an allergy, I worked at Salt and Straw, Linz and Jeff, and if there was an allergy, it's an ice cream store, and if there was an allergy, we would go and get a fresh pint, new gloves, we throw out the other stuff for any kind of thing. So, Jeff, you were nodding along to Al. What did you think about it, too? Should he have also been more careful about going to that store?
Yeah, there's a couple things here, right? One, he should have warned the people that work there, okay? That my son has a severe allergy. Could you be very careful about what you put in there? I have friends that have allergies to seafood, and when we go out to eat,
my dad.
Hey guys, you can't even have it on the same plate. They're very aware of his allergy. The dad should have made it more aware. I wonder though, had he not threw in the immigration comment, just been mad, maybe not even throw that thing. I understand the fear because sometimes I react overly. You know, it's been my problem when I temper my whole life. And when I'm scared for somebody, it's kind of, I get angry. So I understand the anger concept. I don't know if I would ever throw anything at a high school student. I don't know if I would make fun of somebody's status or who they are, their sexuality because of a mistake. So that being said, I don't know if he should lose his job over that. But I just want to share one story. We went to Disney on Ice, and this is totally, maybe it does relate. We went to Disney on Ice, and you have to wear a mask when you're in Denver. You have to wear it into the Pepsi Center or whatever it's called.
The Ball Arena.
The Ball Arena, there it is. And this man, there was a 16-year-old girl outside, and he goes, I'm not putting on this mask because it's stupid and it doesn't do anything. And he yelled in this girl's face who looked like she was 16 years old. And I was walking with my kids, like putting my mask on, and I was this close to getting involved. I was this close to being like, first of all, buddy, she's 16 and doing her job. And second of all, you don't talk to people like that. I was this close, but then it would have been my problem. And that's a problem I have in society now, because the moment you step in, or if I was in that shop, I might have stepped in and said something, then it would have been my problem.
Now he can sue you.
But I want to get back to him, but it's just where we are in society.
It's
I want to hear what
tense out there. Lindsay, also, what do you think about that? Do you think he should have been fired? It's Merrill Lynch, by the way, and he was on that job since '95. I think he should have been fired just due to the moral clause. You don't throw things at people.
For sure. I mean, when I watch this,
noise?
I
Just
understand.
like, come on. Sorry. Lindsay?
I understand when people are upset about their children. I understand how sensitive people get, especially when something happens. But also, a lot of times when people have bad behavior, we start saying like the racist things came from the bad behavior, and like that doesn't correlate. Like when we use mental health issues and say, oh, that's why I was racist. Like you don't have to spew out racist comments or throw things at people because there's an issue going on. So I understand the difference of what Jeff's talking about, getting angry and really trying to stand up for what you feel is right. Like not getting your son really sick from a allergic reaction, but like spewing out comments like this is part of the problem. And then the problem is when you're in a leadership position and you're handling people's money. I'm sure people of color and different backgrounds, that's the problem, because you are in a powerful position and you obviously have these thoughts in the back of your head that pop up when you get irritated about a peanut allergy.
Right, and they come out. What's interesting is like I feel terrible for his son, but I feel bad for that daughter who is like 15, 16 too, right? It's like
just trying to work,
just trying to do her job.
It's like you made a mistake and you didn't really point it out to me. I'm sorry.
And I wouldn't have gone to that store.
Didn't do that on purpose.
Totally agree. Yeah, that really. Well, and people are writing in and they're saying, please just mention the Chiefs versus the Bills. We know there's a lot of football talk out there.
I can't talk about that yet.
Okay, there's a lot of pain and a lot of emotions here, Linz, in the studio.
And a lot of money lost.
Okay, and some money lost.
Allegedly.
And the break in YouTube, if you stick around, we'll be talking about it. All right, we got a couple of stories of bad behavior and unruly passengers. Guess where else? The air. Up first, a United flight from New Jersey to Israel, not a short flight, had to turn back 90 minutes into the flight after two passengers seated in economy decided to upgrade themselves to business class. Police boarded the plane when it landed after the two passengers reportedly started a fight. Meantime, a man was arrested after he allegedly removed his pants and his underwear and mooned a flight attendant during a recent flight. He's also accused of throwing a can that hit another traveler. He's facing up to 20 years in jail. Lindsay, thoughts?
I feel like people are just throwing pasta at the wall, doing whatever, and trying to blame it on whatever psychosis they want to diagnose themselves with during the pandemic. I was reading this study from the FAA, and there was like 4,700 total incidents, specifically like these ones on a plane last year. And most of them because people didn't want to wear their masks. So I guess we graduated from that, and it's like, well, if I had to wear my mask, I'm going to just behave terribly and do other things like a child. I can't. When you say these stories, I'm just like, who does this? Like, who raised you? It's confusing to me that these are grown adults behaving like this.
And it's gotten worse and worse and worse, it feels like, Jeff.
Let me conflate these two stories together, right?
Please.
So we have a man who threw a shake and lost his job.
Yeah.
Okay, smoothie and lost his job, said some derogatory things. Why aren't more people losing their jobs for shutting down flights, for not obeying the rules on flights, for different things? If I said something or I threw a smoothie at somebody, or if I pulled my pants down on an airplane, let's use that example, I would be fired from this job.
Yes, you would.
I wouldn't have a job. But this person, gets a slap on the wrist and says, don't do that, and now the whole
Jeff, some of
plane
their
has to be
fines are like
diverted?
$45,000.
But they shouldn't. What I'm saying is they should lose their life. We pick and choose who does what. They should lose their livelihood. They shouldn't be able to fly anymore. We need stricter rules, and we need more punishment, I feel like.
I agree because, and Lindsay, I want to know how you feel about this. You're on a flight with Colin and your daughter, and there's somebody acting crazy on the plane. If you're acting crazy in a Starbucks, that's fine. We're on the ground. On a plane, I don't know what you're about to do. What if you hit a flight attendant and they fall backwards and hit the door? I've taken thousands and thousands of flights. The handle is right there, bro. And when somebody's acting very strangely, if somebody gets a hold of that door, we are all dead. So I don't understand why this isn't taken, not with high alertness, but with the utmost.
Now, here's
absolutely.
The thing. Here's another thing. If you're at a Starbucks, because I totally agree with you, and someone weird is there and acting strange, and you're with your kid, God forbid, you can leave. You can't even leave the plane. You're stuck with this person and you're in fear for absolutely your life. So I don't understand the no-fly list.
Yeah.
Immediately no-fly list on every single airline, not just Delta. Give it on every airline. Also, I think they should be fired for any moral clause at their job and outed. And I also think that their mugshots, we should show them because these people are disrupting my time. What if I was going to Israel to see my relative? That's a long flight. That's an expensive flight. And I turn around because you think you're more important than me.
Yeah, let's be honest, during COVID, international family, realistically, you want to see them every 3 to 4 years. So if that trip gets disrupted.
And a lot of times we're telling these.
Please, go ahead, Lindsay.
A lot of times we're telling these stories real time. So, we're like, this happened yesterday on a plane, this happened last week on a plane. And so when they land, they they usually are met with fire marshals or police officers or somebody who's trying to handle the situation. And like I said, when I read some reports, there were like $40,000 in fines. That is a steep charge. And then also, I'm sure they're facing charges. So
I hope so too.
Whether their job fires them or not, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of issue at work.
The problem is that I've read too many times when they're on a no-fly list now from Delta, but not United. Like, they're not sharing those lists. That should be a federal no-fly list.
It's so strange.
You terrorize the plane. Unacceptable.
I just wonder if something terrible's got to happen before we start treating it like with the breadth and gravity it deserves.
You mean 9/11?
Something like that. Like, seriously, a plane going down, unfortunately.
Interesting. Write us in on YouTube, the app, and also dailyblastlive.com. Coming up, the face. Also, just on my face.
Right in here.
Why'd you have to make fun of me then? Coming up on DBL, sex advice from your grandparents. What the older generation is saying about keeping it spicy in the bedroom. Plus, coping with a feeling of loneliness. A new study reveals why middle-aged women have felt the most alone during the pandemic.
Closed captioning provided by
What's up, everybody? First of all, it's good to be back in studio, huh?
Yeah, got it.
No, it's like,
Hey guys, also, can we talk football? Because people are writing in a lot.
yes,
Okay.
we will. But
Are you asking us to talk football?
Well, I just want to say that I watched in Mahomes that whole game back and forth with Stafford. Then we go ahead and had Allen.
He didn't play. He didn't play.
Allen was there.
Who's
He played
Allen?
The football player. Isn't he the
You're just
quarterback?
naming people
And
that didn't play each
Gould
other.
had a leg from here to there, 48 yards
And
or
how about
longer.
the Bears released him? The Bears cut Robbie Gould, by the way.
It's not Gould.
No,
It's
it
Gould.
cut Robbie Gould, and he's the best kicker in the NFL.
He was
And
amazing.
then we get that guy, Parkey.
that we got the Browns.
And then the Browns took it, and he kicked that field goal and double doinked it.
Oh,
and that's after we let
no.
Robbie go. So I could talk football all day. I don't want to get into
No,
that.
people are asking to
Oh,
write.
they do?
That's what I'm telling you, and I said it on
It was a
air.
crazy, great weekend of football.
I think it
Amazing.
was the best weekend of
It was
football
amazing.
in
You
my
said you'll
lifetime.
tell your kids about this.
Every game was better than the last, and I mean I don't think we can talk about. So I'll just say, like, in terms of we were playing with
Me and Al
Monopoly
threw
money.
down small wagers
Yeah, and
over the weekend, and I was winning, and I threw all my winnings down on the Bills.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't lose because I have them plus 5.5.
Dude.
So what that means to the audience
Tori has
is,
no idea what that
I
even
do.
if the Kansas City wins by 5,
Right.
I still win because I have the Bills plus 5.5. So in my thinking, if Kansas City just kicks a field goal, who cares?
still
I still
get it.
win.
You still get it.
No, let's go to overtime.
Yeah, dude.
And under one clause, if you go down and score 6 points, Big Jeff loses.
Oh, that must have
The
been
house
hard.
always wins.
Did you
yeah.
scream and yell? By
I
the way,
was so mad, and then me and Al were texting each other.
I gotta be honest, we all agree on one thing, Americans, that the overtime for NFL needs to change, and
It
it
needs to
should
go to
not
college.
be a coin toss, because he called tails, and it ended up being the reason they lost.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Are you hurt? You feel like you look like you're
I don't
in
know
shock
if
a
I'm
little.
ready to talk about it.
I'm so sorry.
Maybe we had different wagers on it.
Welcome back. This is something very close to my heart. Do you feel lonely? And I'm asking you that right now, watching TV or on your phone. Do you feel lonely? And how do you cope with those feelings? So according to a new survey, middle-aged moms have seen the sharpest rise in feelings of loneliness since the pandemic began. It says that women aged 41 to 57 find themselves isolated while juggling their kids and their work. And then they turn to social media, which can actually help them vent and see connections, but it also leads to feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. I'm going to the new mom in the group here, Miss Lindsay Granger. Talk to me if you're feeling this. What do you tell me what you're feeling?
A new mom during COVID, by the
During
way.
COVID.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, because I have a lot of friends that are all over the place, constantly doing stuff, moving around a lot. And even through COVID, they found ways to navigate it safely. And so when I just had the baby, it was hard to be like, oh, I'm missing this thing. And it's like, you can't be at everything. So part of what I talked about on the show is like taking a minute from social media, not because I wasn't excited for what they had going on, but because I really needed to focus on what's important right in front of me, which was my family. And I think to say that this is exacerbated for women that have maybe a little bit older kids that are from 41 to 57, like it has to be hard, because I know even how much my mom is on social media. She sends me everything, even stuff that I miss. Sometimes you have to take a break and step back from what's going on social media, because it's easy for kids to compare themselves, and kids have mental health issues. So what makes you think if kids can't deal with this, that adults who got introduced to it around the same time are not struggling in some way? And so I think, people have to really find ways to like detach. So for me, I literally go to my sister's stories, my mom's stories, and then maybe log off for the day and be super intentional instead of just allowing your feed to calculate what's in front of you, because all that stuff is intentional and, very, very intentional, like sponsored sometimes messages that are put on by Facebook or Instagram intentionally to get you to buy stuff or be interested in certain content. And so knowing that, and all we know about how they put these algorithms together, you have to protect your own peace and really just navigate it very intentionally, I think.
And I appreciate you saying that, and I am going to just push back and ask Jeff here. I know you're going to say about social media, but let's say you're in the pandemic and you don't have anybody, right? You're like a single mom, and social media is an outlet for you to actually connect to other people. I know that's been life-saving for people I know. What do you think about that? Like, you're stuck.
Well, there is good that comes off of social media, right?
Absolutely.
I bash it a lot because of the percentages. You can't ignore them, and somehow we're just ignoring them. Teenage women are up like 20% in suicide since the beginning of social media. So it definitely corresponds. And then when you become a woman, you're still dealing with these problems. So your base is set on, wow, I made it past suicide. Now I'm going to have to deal with these problems. It's a real problem. And Lindsay, I always bring up new moms, and I'm not saying you specifically because it's a very touchy subject. I'm speaking of my family in general. My wife went through postpartum, and having a baby during COVID when you're already isolated with the internet being negative and then you can't see your family, it's a real serious issue. And somehow we don't want to bring that up either because it offends somebody. But I'm bringing it up because I want to help somebody out there, because I went through it with my wife and I had no idea what it was.
And had you been able to go, I know people personally go to a support group online because it's their only way of reaching out to people. That is a positive way. And I also say, if you are feeling lonely, treat yourself with a lot of loving kindness and self-compassion right now. I've been there. It's a lonely place. Please, like a feather to a bubble, you should treat yourself that gently. Seriously. Coming up on DBL, sex advice from seniors, strange transition, how couples in their 60s, 70s, and beyond keep that spark alive.
Are you on?
2021 was the first full year that we've been in the pandemic, and we're getting a lot of questions about tax write-offs. First is about the cost of masks and other personal protective equipment that health officials in some states still require. So let's verify. Is PPE tax deductible? Our sources are the Internal Revenue Service and accounting firm Cherry Beckert LLP. Taxpayers have historically received a deduction for medical expenses. These are things like doctor's visits or medication that aren't covered by health insurance. The IRS says that also includes PPE, like masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer. So we can verify PPE is tax deductible, but Cherry Beckert says there's a catch. Existing IRS rules require medical expenses exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income to qualify, so the deduction won't apply to everyone. Some people have been stocking up on PPE as they get ready to return to the office, but many are still working from home. We've received some questions about whether you can write off some of the expense of having a home office. So let's verify. Can employees write off a home office? Our sources are the IRS and accounting firm Maxwell, Locke & Ritter. The government used to allow everyone to take a home office deduction if they have the setup. That changed in 2017 when Congress passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It was intended to simplify the process of doing taxes, and that meant limiting, among other things, who can take the home office deduction. The IRS warns only self-employed people, independent contractors, and people working in the gig economy now qualify. Basically, Maxwell, Locke & Ritter explains, if you get a W-2, then you don't get the deduction. So it's false that employees can write off a home office on their taxes, although self-employed people or contractors still can.
Welcome back to DBL. There are many resources out there to help improve your sex life, but have you ever thought about asking your grandparents for some advice?
No.
No, for
no
sure.
No disrespect, but I have not.
All right, let's be honest. Anyone who can keep the spark alive well into their later years has some wisdom to share. So let's take a look at 4 tips that Senior shared with the Wall Street Journal. Very sexy.
Hot.
Very sexy newspaper. All right, first up, get that red light. Spontaneity is overrated. If your time differs from your partner's, schedule a time without any expectation of reciprocation.
I agree with that.
Second, take your time. So young people fixate on sexual performance, while older people spend more time on the build-up rather than racing to the finish line. Fair?
I guess.
Okay. Third, wait, Lindsay, say that again?
Yeah, it depends on
I said
how
older
busy
people
you
probably
are.
need to take a little bit more time in general. Okay, never mind.
Third, accept, then adapt. Accepting our bodies may be hard for some. Many seniors say, don't judge yourself. Like I said, feather to a bubble. Or your partner. Appreciate what your bodies can do together. Jeff?
Let's just wait till the end,
okay.
and then we'll recap.
Lastly, be active. Don't be passive. Younger adults often have a you please me, I'll please you attitude towards sex. Older people, they're not passive. They are active in knowing what they want and they ask for it.
I think the Wall Street Journal was tough for us to all get past, but those are actually those are 4 really good nuggets of advice there. I didn't really get the build up. I think some of that does have to do with your time, but I do like the idea of being comfortable with your body. I couldn't imagine asking my grandparents for sex advice. That just seems like it should never happen.
Isn't there the villages, there's a lot of sex that older people and seniors are having.
Absolutely.
Isn't there that Villages? What is that?
The Villages in Florida.
The retirement home in which it's like crazy.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a documentary
I know we talked about on the show about how much sex like the senior homes are having. Good for them.
I mean, yeah, what a great time in your life. It's like you did everything you wanted to do. Your kids are super grown and gone with their own lives. You got enough money in the bank. You sold your house. You moved to Florida. And now it's like, I feel pretty good. My spouse feels pretty good. We got another 30 years. Call the doctor.
Where you at?
Yeah, Lindsay, tell me about how you feel about, don't you have a 104-year-old great-grandma?
I'm not talking about my 104-year-old great-grandma's sex life, but I don't even know how I got here or my grandma got here. It all was a stork.
Oh,
but
okay.
I will say that the spontaneity thing, I always hear that from people who are like married or been in relationships a long time. And to me, that's like a big deal to be spontaneous and not so organized. Like the way I keep hearing it is like, 11 o'clock, let's meet here. It's like, that's just a little boring to me. I feel like you can still find spontaneity even when you have kids and you get older.
I disagree. I like the time there. It's like getting ready for the big game. You know it starts today. You start getting yourself ready at 7.
Oh my God.
Mentally. Get ready.
I was hungry for lunch and I'm not anymore. We'll be right back.
I'm a beautiful man.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
media, we've seen a lot of theories on how to cure COVID-19. The latest is urine therapy, which essentially means you drink your own urine. Several people have tweeted a video of an anti-vaccine activist, Christopher Key, saying urine therapy is the key to curing COVID.
The antidote that we've seen now, and we have tons and tons of research, is urine therapy.
It's this video that's been a buzz on social media. So let's look into this claim. Our source is the Food and Drug Administration, cardiologist Dr. Pyle Coley, family physician Dr. Carla Robinson, and Winchester Hospital. First, what is urine therapy? According to Winchester Hospital in Massachusetts, urine therapy is a part of ancient medical and cultural practices in places like Egypt, China, or India. Proponents consider drinking urine as a treatment for a variety of ailments. Winchester Hospital points out that some alternative medical practices believe urine therapy can cure ailments like asthma, acne, and cancer, but states no medical evidence supports urine as an effective treatment for those illnesses. The Food and Drug Administration does not list urine therapy as an approved COVID-19 treatment.
Should people drink their pee if they have COVID? There is absolutely no evidence that medicinal use of urine, in other words, drinking your urine as a way to treat COVID or prevent COVID, has any efficacy.
We are not advising anyone to drink their own urine to detox or treat COVID infection. It has not been proven to be helpful.
In fact, the doctors warn against drinking urine because it contains bacteria, which can make you sick.
There are certainly waste properties in urine, and it's not something that is designed for human consumption. In fact, it is the opposite. It is, what our body has been designed to release from the body.
It's really ill-advised, can increase your risk for complications and infections for you to think about consuming your urine. And even though people have done it in the past, it doesn't make it a scientifically backed therapy or a preventive measure.
So we can verify that this claim is false. Drinking urine is not a cure for COVID-19. With your Verified, I'm Megan Bragg. If you have snow or ice on the roof of your car, you should clear it off. Let's connect the dots. Driving with snow on top of your car is very dangerous. Huge chunks can fly off your vehicle, leading to damaged windshields and even more problems on the roads. Snow blowing off the top of your car also reduces visibility for drivers behind you. And you can hurt yourself. If you need to brake suddenly, the snow could come down over your windshield and block your view. Driving with snow on top of your car is illegal in some states up north, but it's not outlawed in North or South Carolina. If you don't want to clear off your car, park in a garage or don't drive at all. And that's connecting the dots.
Welcome back. Making exercise a daily habit can feel daunting. Literally, I'm going through this right now, especially when it feels like it only counts when you go all in. Instead, you should know that every small movement counts. That's today's Focus on Fitness presented by QB. So according to a personal trainer, if you want to start building up a routine, try just doing a minute of sit-ups, push-ups, or squats at the end of each hour. Just 1 minute is all it takes to get the blood flowing, and that's how you work out smarter, not harder. QB is a great way to get some quick exercise regardless of physical ability or age. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-556-2089 or visit QB.com to learn more. Al, you were nodding?
Yeah, I was just thinking about just early on in my career, my old agent had a standing desk. And I was like, who would have that? And I completely get it now.
Yeah.
Like just standing up for a second, letting your blood flow. It seems like a little thing. It's a little movement lens, but it works.
Like walking jiggly.
Well, I'm sitting down all day, so I got to get with the program. I don't know why you threw to me because I don't have a standing desk.
Do you take jiggly? I take Josie for a walk, though, just to get, I go for a good 1.5 miles for me. That's good. I'm having ankle weights. Do you walk jiggly with the baby?
Weights?
Yeah.
Are you rocking?
In my mind, I go for a walk with the baby and the dog every day.
In 1979?
Sorry, your insults drowned out. Their insults drowned you.
I can't even get a word in. Whatever. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. I do have